This is the Historic District Commission in Fairfield, Connecticut. Date is March 9th, 2023. Time is 4:15. This meeting was noticed in the Fairfield Citizen Friday, March 3rd, 2023. And I'll take attendance. Commissioner Shea,
Present.
Commissioner Negron,
Present.
Commissioner Raymond Locke,
Here, present.
Commissioner Gravinas,
I'm here, thank you.
and alternate Commissioner Stack is not here. Alternate Commissioner Boham,
Here, Adam, thank you.
alternate Commissioner Clark. I did not see that. It's not here. And I am Adam Cliver, Commissioner. Okay, we have a full quorum with commissioners, so none of the alternates will be voting tonight. First item on the agenda is Paul Bayless, 360 Old Post Road in Fairfield for property located at 360 Old Post Road for A, remove existing 42-inch wood picket fences, and B, install new 42-inch high wood picket fences and gates, and C, install new 54-inch high wood picket fences and gates. Is someone here to present for 360 Old Post Road?
Hi, Adam. It's Kelly McGovern here.
Hi, Kelly.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Should I share my screen to go through my presentation?
Yes, please.
Okay. It'll be really quick. Share. There we go. I think everyone's familiar with this house down on the corner of South Benson and Old Post Road. And we changed our lineup here of fencing based on what we heard at the last month's meeting. And essentially, where I've drawn in yellow is where the existing 42-inch picket fence is. It stops here and then it goes here, and there's a little bit here. We want to remove all that and replace it with a new 42-inch picket fence. The only difference is we don't want to put the gravel board on the bottom, and one of the rails will be vertical instead of horizontal. Very minor change on the back of it. The manufacturer asked for that. And we would start it over here, and we would go this way, and we would stop about 4 feet from the drive. We would not have a gate, pick it up again here and come down just like it is now. And we would put a new section along this line of the property, just a foot off of the property line. There's a chain link fence here from the neighbor, so it'll go just, in front of that. And then we want to take out the 42-inch yellow fence here, and we want to put the same fence that we have as the 42, but just slightly taller at 54-inch, just so there's some sort of distinguishing between these two fences. And we would have, instead of having it come off of the house in the middle of these two windows, we would put it on the end. And there's a lot of landscaping here, which I could show you, so that transition would be softened. And we would come here, and this would be a new section of fence, a foot off the property line, and then we would return to the garage. And then we would replace what's here, but we wouldn't do it right on the driveway. We would step in 3 feet just to give snow a place to be piled. Does anybody have any questions about that?
So all the brown stuff.
Jim,
Yes.
Jim,
Yep.
Jim, we're going to wait till she's finished
Okay.
presenting the entire application, and we'll go around the room, okay?
All right, I'll
Like we
take
usually
one.
do.
These are the
Thank you.
details of the fence and the gates. Everything is going to be, the hardware is going to be very similar to what's there, if not exactly the same. And I drew up these little diagrams where, this is the 42-inch high. We'll have the proper footings. This is what the front gate would look like. It's exactly the same size. These posts will be 6-inch posts with Westport style caps. The posts on the inside of the fences will be the 4-inch posts. This is where this top rail is going to be just a little different. Right now, they're horizontal and they catch a lot of rain, and Tony Anastasia wants to put it vertically. I don't think anybody would tell a difference. And this is the 54-inch height next to the house. I have a picture of the front of the house. You can. This is what the hardware will look like. Snug Cottage hardware, same as what's on there now. This is the back of the house. This is just falling apart right back here. So we want to just step that back a couple of feet. This is the front corner of the house where there's some landscaping here, and it's just been planted in the last year or two. So I expect it will get, this boxwood will get bigger in time. The 54-inch fence will come to about here where my cursor is, not much bigger. And this is, my client really wanted to have a 6-foot fence, 6-foot tall fence, if you recall, because of the safety of his dogs. So we didn't think that sounded like it would get passed. So we're hoping that this is a good compromise. No deer fence this time around, none at all. And that's about it. I'm ready for questions if you have anything.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Chris, can you start?
Yeah, actually, I think your presentation is great, and it was clear this time for me to understand and follow. And I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Rosina, questions?
No questions. Thank you for the presentation.
Karen, questions?
No questions for me. Thanks for the presentation.
Art, questions?
None, Adam. Thank you.
Okay. And Jim, questions?
Yeah, so the tan color on the drawing,
Oh,
that's all 54 inches.
correct.
Is that correct? Thank you. Thank you very much. Good presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions. I understand the application. I guess the only comment I would, maybe I do have a question. Okay, why didn't you, I understand they're trying to get as much space in that backyard as possible, so they pulled that proposed 54-inch fence forward. But it's right on the corner now, as opposed to being set back. And I think one of the things that's nice about the existing fence that it's set back from the front of the house quite a bit.
Yep. Well, and you're asking me why we chose this?
Yeah, why'd you choose to align it with the front of the house as opposed to setting it back slightly?
Right.
And is it purely just to get the space? Because I think clearly I think it looks better with it set back.
Well, a couple of reasons. As you say, yes, to get the space, because this is basically their backyard, their only private family space. Technically, this is their backyard, but it's, full of the driveway. Secondly, there's a water spigot right here, and we wanted to get that water spigot in the backyard for use back here. And also, I think it's, from my research on colonial Williamsburg houses, it's very typical for a fence to come off of a corner of a property. There's a garden designer that I really love called Gordon Hayward, and he strongly recommends fences coming off of lines of the houses as opposed to in the middle of a plane. He thinks it looks much easier to the eye, which I have to agree. And the 54, as we said, it's only going to be 6 inches higher than the 42. I don't think it's going to be, I'd be hard pressed if anybody could even really tell. And as I said before, there's some nice landscaping here. I can zoom in here.
Can't consider the landscaping, so.
Oh, okay. Well, not even that's going to soften that transition.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I would say for me, it's a design-wise and a historical precedent for colonial, homes and the size of the yard.
Okay. Secretary of Interior Standards for rehabilitation suggests that moving historic features, landscape features, destroys the historic relationship between buildings and open space.
Say that again,
So
please.
it says removing or relocating historic buildings or landscape features, thus destroying the historic relationship between buildings and landscape features and open space, is not recommended by the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation, which I believe you, this particular property is referenced as something they like to adhere to, right?
But do we know that this fence here was in the original place?
It's not really relevant. It's existing. I don't know I don't know the history of the fence. Anyway,
It's
those
not the
are
original.
my comments.
Yeah, I know it's not the original fence, Adam. The original fence was not a picket fence. It was more of a flat horizontal board fence. I've seen some photos of the house from the 50s.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
suspect it was on the corner, but anyway, that's my thought.
Hey, Adam,
I
this
have
is
no other
Paul.
questions or comments.
Adam, this is Paul Bayless. Sorry, I came into the meeting late. Can I just answer one question?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, we moved the fence up just because you're asking, just to get more space, to be honest. The only thing I worry about is if we leave it where it we were trying to get, there's a window on the side of the house. I don't have a picture of it, but you can kind of see where it is. I'm fine with moving, if you guys want to stipulate where the fence is, but I was trying to get it on the other side of the window that's in that front part of the house there. Not that one, but you can't see it from any
Right
picture,
there.
but it's in there.
Mm,
So I was trying to get it. I don't know any history of that particular fence being significant to the property, and I really don't know when it was put in. Just to be honest, I don't. But I'm just looking for an area that has a place that is a little bit more private and a little bit more safe for my dogs. Really, I'm not really that bothered by its location in relation to the house, but I didn't think that where it was had any relationship to the historic significance of the property. And I mean, we could look into where and when that was approved or how that got there, but that was nowhere, it wasn't there when the house was built in the 40s. So I really don't know when it was done, but I think it was in like the last 15 years. So I'm imagining it was, it's related to that, not to the house being historic or not.
Okay, thank you. I did not receive any letters in favor of this application, but I did receive one letter opposing it from the neighbors at 388 Old Post Road, which I'll read into the record. Dear Commissioners, Tara and I reside at 388 Old Post Road. Our home is adjacent to the applicant's 360 Old Post Road property. We ask you to deny the Fence C portion of the application. Any fencing materials that is used in an historic district should meet with the Secretary of Interior standards for cultural landscapes, which state that a feature should be visually compatible in its mass scale, form, features, materials, texture, or color to the landscape so that it does not detract from or alter the historic character of the landscape. The proposed fence C, in our opinion, is not compatible in scale and massing to the landscape or the saltbox style house. The fence in its proposed location will compete with and detract from the house. It will alter the historic character of the landscape. The picket style fence may be appropriate to this style house, but the proposed height of 54 inches is not historically appropriate. This style fence is typically between 36 and 48 inches tall. The proposed fence C may become the central focus of the landscape, not the frame, and thus it is not keeping with the gardening trends of the past that set the feeling and setting for a historic home. This proposed tall picket fence with 2-inch spacing is proportionally inappropriate, and we are concerned it will be viewed as a stockade or privacy fence from the public way and from our property. The use of this tall fence in the side yard is also historically inappropriate as per Secretary of Interior standards for cultural landscapes. Side yards should be considered a continuation of the front yard, and closing a side yard with a privacy fence is not recommended. Although there may be houses in the historic district that have tall fences in their side yards, these are different style houses, and the fences may be predated the formation of those Post Road Historic District. We do not know of any saltbox house in the district that has a tall side yard fence that abuts the house in the same plane as the front elevation. Just because a side yard fence exists in other yards in this district does not necessarily mean it is historically appropriate. We do understand the homeowner's desire to have a safe fenced area for their dogs, and we do think there are historically appropriate alternatives to create this space. The use of wire mesh fencing with 4 or 5 foot height that sits back from the front plane of the house with taller hedges planted in front of the wire mesh will be an effective enclosure for the dogs. This would not compete with the salt box house and respect the landscape. This same type of fencing could be used on the side property line, as it could be planted out and be hidden from in the plantings. We also recommend to the homeowners that the use of 5 or 6 foot iron picket fence with appropriate spacing placed on our property line would be historically appropriate on our property. It would prevent the dogs from jumping out of the yard. It would allow hedges to grow through it and conceal the fence. This would benefit both adjoining homeowners. Thank you for your consideration. Respectfully ask you deny the fence C portion of this application. Sincerely, Henry and Tara Backey, 380 Old Post Road in Fairfield. Give you an opportunity to respond to that if you'd like.
Well, I think that if the issue that maybe the commission has with the height of the fence, if the difference of the 6 inches, I can't speak for Paul, but I would imagine that they would be amenable to doing a 42-inch fence to keep it within those guidelines. I don't think, as I said, that the Baylesses would be happy to move the fence off a little bit of the front of the house. That's not a sticking point. We can maybe move it back 3 feet to match the other side. And then we still have that window in the backyard. I feel like, you know, there's a lot of ways, there's a lot of different opinions on what is historically appropriate and what would look nice, and everybody's entitled to their opinion for sure. But we think that a cedar fence is what the commission was looking for, and we think it would look nice. We think it would be appropriate for the salt box house.
Okay.
Paul, did you want to add anything to that?
I think that our proposal is a really nice proposal. I think if we, if there are issues with location that people think is an issue, I'm willing to work with that. I'm really just trying to get something passed. I have a full fence on the property that's actually falling apart and is actually kind of dangerous for the neighborhood, and is kind of frustrating that I'm, trying to fix that. In reference to the property line and there's only one negative letter or one active letter on this property. There's a 3-foot rusty fence between our properties that, to be honest, our putting in the picket fence that we're proposing actually makes it look a lot nicer than.
There's a chain link fence on the neighbor's property that's been there for 50 years.
That for sure, if we wanted to put in said chain link fence, we wouldn't be able to do that. And I just think that the opinion, and actually the reason why it's not a shared fence project, is because the two neighbors have a difference of opinion of what would be appropriate there. And so we're just trying to get something that is appropriate, that the general public will be happy with. And that's really all I can say. There's things that, we don't want to look at for their side, and they don't want to look at stuff from our side. But at the end of the day, we just want to make sure that the general public is satisfied that we're doing something reasonable. And I think that what we're doing is pretty reasonable. You know, there's currently a 42-inch picket fence basically around almost the whole perimeter of our property. We're looking to extend it, you know, and include the property line that's shared.
Just this
And-
much.
And then just in one area, it goes from 42 to 54 inches, which is really not that much. And it's not going to be ugly or an eyesore to anybody. And, you know, if there's small differences of where the location of some of the inner workings of the fence get stipulated, I don't really have a problem with it. I would just like to get a fence up and move on.
The letter mentioned that, I think if I heard correctly, that they took issue with the size of the pickets and the spacing of the pickets. And what we were proposing is exactly what's there. I went out and measured it. They're 3-inch pickets. They're about 2 inches apart. A flat picket. We're not changing that at all.
Okay, anything else?
Thank you very much for everyone's time.
Thank you, guys.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you. The hearing's closed. Next item on the agenda is St. Paul's Episcopal Church, 661 Old Post Road in Fairfield, for property located at 661 Old Post Road in Fairfield for A, removal of existing St. Paul's Episcopal Church sign at northeast corner of lot, and B, install new two-sided sign.
Yes, this is Jonathan Hyland. I manage buildings and grounds for St. Paul's. Do you want me to share our presentation?
Yes, please.
All right, give me a second.
Like, if you can, I can put it up for you, but
Let's see, I think I can do that. Here. Ah. Ta-da. Okay. So basically, what we want to do is replace the existing St. Paul sign with a new sign that is, I think, more visible to traffic coming from both directions on Old Post Road. And I think it really represents the progression and growth and relevance of our church. And so I'm just gonna, this isn't a long presentation. So the area that we're talking about is along the Old Post Road, on the side of the church, and it, let me get down a little further, show it. So the existing sign is on the side, as I said, on the side of the church, and the new sign would be in exactly the same spot. The existing sign, and I can show that. This is the existing sign. And the new sign would be a post and beam. This is essentially, it's about a 9-foot post, and there's a beam. There would be plantings in this area at the base. So these are the dimensions of the sign. It's within the requirements of the planning and zoning for signage in terms of the square footage. So it's roughly 9.9 feet high. And the sign is, as it indicates, 30 by 40. And with overhead lighting, that would be down lighting. The current sign is that we have, it is now lit from below. We feel it would be more appropriate to have this sign lit from above. So let's get down to, so this is an example of one of the lighting solutions that we've looked at. So it would, again, light the sign from above. It's not particularly intrusive. And I think this is actually done in the Weston Historical Society sign. Again, I think our parish is thriving and growing, and we just feel that this sign would be number one, a nice and visual representation of our church and our parish, and we ask for your approval.
Okay, is that all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Chris, do you have any questions?
Yes, I did have a couple of questions. When I was reviewing the application, there was some reference to the type of lighting, and it wasn't very clear to me that that had been determined. You talk about quartz halogen and maybe replaced it with LED, although you're not keen on LED. So I am not in a position to approve the lighting portion of this application because I don't really know what your intentions are. The other, I guess that was a comment. The other question I had is, it's actually the post is about 10 feet tall, and the sign itself hangs down fairly far from the top of the post. And I wondered, it's right kind of on the edge of the driveway. It seems to me as though when you're exiting from, entering from the town hall, because that's a one-way entrance. So that's not going to really impede not going to block any visual.
No, it wouldn't.
Because it's just, you're entering there.
Yeah.
And then my last comment was, there's a note that says that the wooden portions of the sign would be constructed with like cedar or something. But I just want to make sure that the non-metal portions of the sign are going to be all wood. For example, the post base, it has like a flat panel in it, and there's some panel molding around that, and there's a cap on the post, and I just want to make sure all that material is wood.
It is. All of it's wood.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. It's a very handsome sign. I think it's appropriate.
I'm proud of it.
Thanks, Chris. Regina,
I-
questions?
My one question was also about the light not being included as part of the application. Other than that, it's a really nice sign. So thank you.
Thank you. Darren, questions?
No questions. I think the sign's really, really attractive.
And Art?
Yeah, Adam, nothing to add that hasn't been said already. Thank you.
Okay. Jim?
Let me add myself to the people complimenting the sign. It's lovely. No questions.
Thank you, Jim. And I would just echo the concern with the lighting. And even the example the picture that you showed with that one sign and the lighting, I wouldn't be, I don't think that particular type of lighting would be appropriate. I think there's something you could find that's much simpler, more discreet, and not, that's, I guess that's all I have to say about the signs, except that it is attractive. Like everyone else has said, I think it is appropriate. Did not receive any letters approving or in favor of this application, and I did not receive any letters opposing the application. So do you have any other comments? Mr.
Adam?
Ayler?
This is John. If this is not approved because of the lighting, what would the process then be?
We could approve the sign and the post. We can approve the whole thing, and we can deny the lighting. So,
So we
you
would
would
have
just have
to
to come. You would
resubmit?
just have to come back with the proposed lighting for the
Okay.
sign.
So we could go ahead and put the sign in and work on the lighting?
Yeah.
Is that-
If it
Okay,
gets approved, yeah. Yep.
okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. Thank you. The hearing's closed. Next item on the agenda is Matt Wyant, 289 Beach Road in Fairfield, property located at 289 Beach Road in Fairfield for replace 6 double hung windows.
Yep,
There's someone here
thank you.
representing.
I'm here. There's also a representative from Renewal at Anderson here, but I probably will present it and then he can ask any questions that I can't answer. First of all, thanks to the committee. I have been a resident of the historical area now for almost 30 years and been on the Old Post Road Property Association. So I appreciate what you are trying to do to protect the nature of the historical area. As fast food places start to come or try to come in and so forth, we've been very active in trying to keep them out. This is
Could you just state your name, please?
sure. This is
Thanks.
Matthew Wyant, 289 Beach Road. The property is right across the road from the old town hall entrance. It's the Justin Hobart House. We're on the historical tour, and I think there's even a picture of it next to the Fairfield Museum. So we moved in because we love historical houses, and it's been a 20-year project of renovating and updating it so far. What I will do is I will share the PowerPoint presentation that I have. I also have the application. It just may be a little bit easier to see it on a PowerPoint presentation if the committee will allow that, and then I can go back to the actual application itself. Just this may be a little simpler to see because the pictures are upright instead of sideways. First of all, the location of the house. This is the town hall over here. So we're right across the street from the town hall, huge tree in front of it. The windows that we want to replace are on the back of the house. And while we think they are going to be appropriate and look the same as the windows that are there, I also just wanted to point out the sight lines. These are probably not visible unless somebody is really going out of the way for them to be visible. I mean, Sunny Home Drive is about the closest spot you can get on Sunny Home would be from the corner of the street. As you round the corner, you could see the house, but really you'd have to walk into the neighbor's yard to see the house. It's about 90 meters, which is about 300 feet. So it's quite a distance away. And that's only relevant because probably the details of the windows would be difficult to discern from that different distance anyway. The house has been renovated many times since it was built in 1765, and it's had some additions and so forth, but most recently it was done in 2005. We did get Historical Commission approvals at the time for replacement of the windows in the rear of the house, but the reality is we couldn't afford to replace them all at that point in time. So we're essentially replacing the remainder of the windows that we didn't replace on the back of the house when we renovated. And I understand that, you know, the approval is only good for a year, so here we are here back to get another certificate of appropriateness from this committee. We're looking to replace 6 Anderson windows with similar, you know, identical looking, we think, 6/6 double hung windows with the same white muntins and grills, the same pattern, so they will look the same as the original windows. And these muntins and grills are hard installed in the window, so they're not the snap-on type, they're actually part of the window. The replacement, the windows we're replacing are, you know, old double hung with the counterweights, the kind that, you know, where you have to replace the ropes every few years because they break. And they've simply gotten to the point, I mean, I repair them myself. It's simply gotten to the point where they're not really repairable anymore. I mean, they don't track well, they rattle, they leak, and it's, you know, it's gotten to the point where even the separators are starting to deteriorate. So we are wishing to replace them with a similar looking Anderson window. It's got the same grill pattern as the windows that we have. And the way that they do this is they literally just take the sashes out and they put the new window in the same frame. So it does not affect the look of the frame or the sill or anything like that. All of that is retained, and it's simply like a window that's put in. Furthermore, the ones that are on there now have aluminum storm windows on them, which I despise. So these new windows would not require storm windows. They're 2 layers of glass. So they're certainly not the same as the original windows, but in some ways I think they look more similar because you're not looking through a storm window. You're actually looking at the window. The location on the house where these windows reside are these windows in the back, these windows in the back, and then the interior courtyard windows over here as well. This one was replaced when we did the renovation. So you can see the style of window that will go in there, and I've got a zoom here of it. I mean, it's essentially a 6/6. It's got the white frames. I mean, it looks pretty identical to what's there, only it doesn't have a storm window on it. So that's essentially what would be looking to replace the other windows with. The windows on the bottom were replaced before, and the porch was an addition in 2005 that was approved by the commission. In terms of sightlines, this is from Sunny Home Drive. As you drive around, there's no sidewalk, of course, but as you drive around Sunny Home Drive, there's vegetation in the way, which I understand is not necessarily part of the view equation, but there is vegetation. But this view is if you step into the neighbor's yard, you can see it much better. So from the neighbor's yard view, this is what it looks like. And the only window you can see is the attic window here, which isn't being replaced. But it gives you a sense for how far away these windows are. So let's see if this will allow me to go to the next slide. So the request is to approve the replacement of the old windows. The appearance will continue to conform to the 1800 windows. This section of the house is actually not the original 1765. This section was added in the 1800s. So they're not 1765 style anyway, but they are going to look the same as the 1800s windows on there. We don't think they're readily visible from the location, from the Sunny Home sightline. I even went on to a sign site that said, what can you see from what distance? And this suggests that from 300 feet away, sign lettering would need to be 30 inches tall for you to be able to differentiate what the letter was. So I think from a 300-foot distance, the chance somebody is going to see a difference in these windows is minimal. And furthermore, the windows are made to look identical to the ones that are there. I can also show you the application. Can you see this application? Did that show up on your
No.
screen?
Not yet.
It didn't. Okay.
The slides are the same though.
The
Right.
slides are the same. Yeah, the slides are the same. And
Yeah.
basically all it does is it gives the plot layout and, gives the specifics on the windows and so forth. But essentially we're looking for your approval on replacing those windows. And if there are other things that we should consider that we didn't, I mean, we're happy to hear that input as well.
Okay. I just have one question. You said that there are a few windows that were already changed.
In 2005, yeah, with the last permit that we got.
And they were Andersons?
They were Marvin's, but
Okay.
yeah,
They're not clad windows. They're wood windows?
yes. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Getting a little worried there for a second. All right. Chris, questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you for your presentation. I appreciate it. I think you did a nice job. One question is, why did you decide to go with a non-wood window or non-wood sash replacement when there are options that would be available to you in wood?
Well, the replacement window is a wood window, but it's a double pane window. So what that allows is not using storm windows. I mean,
It's actually not, it's a composite window. It has a wood interior, but the outside is basically a fiberglass composite material. So it's not a wood window. And so there are other manufacturers that do make wood replacement sash. I just wondered why you chose to go with the
are they
Anderson
available in the double pane kind of vacuum insulated version as
Yes.
well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, Matt and Chris. This is Bob. I'm from Renewal by Anderson.
Hey, Bob.
Chris, I just want to correct something and explain what the composite is. The composite is not wood on the inside and fiberglass on the outside. It is a mixture of wood fibers and polymers. And the reason they do that is so that it doesn't have any of the drawbacks of wood as far as rotting. It does look exactly like wood, only it lasts much, much, much longer. It is Anderson's primary top-of-the-line window. So it is not a fiberglass window by any way, shape, or means. As a matter of fact, Anderson rejected fiberglass windows way back when.
It is not a
Okay,
wood window. It's not a wood window. So that's
correct. It is a wood composite window.
composite. Yeah, which I think I said composite. I might have used the word fiberglass, but it is a composite window. Yes.
Correct.
Not
Correct.
a wood window. Okay.
No, but it was designed by Anderson to look at wood window, and that it even has mortise and tenon joints, so that you cannot, unless you literally were to take a knife and try to scrape it, visually it looks exactly like a wood window.
Okay.
Yeah. And Chris,
Okay.
I actually spent the time looking through the handbook, which was pretty interesting, but I'm sure that it's probably a little of overkill. But I mean, it does say in there that the primary concern is to have to replicate the appearance and to replicate the exact materials if possible, but to replicate the appearance. And for the Windows section, it talks specifically about the mullions or the grills looking the same. And we spent a lot of effort making sure those grills would look the same.
You can replicate material wise today with a wood sash.
Yeah.
So the other just a kind of a point of clarification, you had said that in your presentation that there isn't a way to get those old windows to work properly anymore. They're shot and there's too much. I can't repeat what you said because I don't remember verbatim, but
Mhm.
there are companies that will remove those sash and, um, and turn them into insulated glass sash, and reinstall them without the weights and the ropes. So it is possible to do that.
Yeah. Well, one of the considerations too was, I mean, given that it is on the back of the house, and I mean, when we did this, we modernized some of the things in our kitchen and so forth. So these windows that we're looking at are actually more consistent with what is on the back of the house now. If this were the front of the house, then I would want to consult with your committee and say, all right, what is the closest thing you can get to a historical look? Because, I mean, our house is on the historical tour. I mean, people walk by the front of the house. So I think there would be a different level of scrutiny that I would have and that I would expect you to have if these were on the front of the house. But this is an addition that was done on the house. So, putting an original 1765 window in addition that was built after that. I mean, I don't know. You guys obviously deal with these trade-offs all the time, but it felt like it was appropriate for where it was going on the house.
Okay, thank you.
Rosina, questions?
I think Chris addressed some of my questions and concerns about the composite window. Thank you.
Thank you. Darren?
No questions for me. Thank you so much.
And Art?
No questions other than what we're gonna take up in executive session.
Thank you. Jim?
No questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Yeah, I mean, I can just say that I believe the initial emails that I've received from you are responded by saying the position of the commission is that we don't approve composite materials. I mean, it's sort of period. So, and I tried to tell you that so you wouldn't waste your time coming in here with Andersen windows, because I can tell you we're most likely not going to approve them. And the whole reason is just the materials. You could
Even on the back of the house? I mean, would you consider that these are?
I know it's not very visible, but it is visible, and that's sort of where we draw the line. If it's visible, we have to act on it as if it was in the front of the house, and we can't, make exceptions and approve a window that's visible and under our jurisdiction just because it's not very visible from the back of the house. And I think that's how we have to be consistent. And if we start letting people, use composite windows in a section of the house that's visible, but it's kind of far away, then we're setting a bad precedent. Because then it becomes what's far enough away, what's visible, what's barely visible, and we're just making it more complicated. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and we had this discussion with the commission in 2005 as well. And at that point in time, and I realized that was probably before anyone who's on the commission now, or maybe it was before anyone was on the commission. They approved it because they determined that from Sunny Home Drive, you really can't see the back of this house. I mean, first of all, if you were walking down Sunny Home Drive, you wouldn't walk into the neighbor's yard. I think that's reasonable. There's a garage that blocks the view, and there's landscaping and a fence. I mean, I think you might have driven around as well.
Yeah, I had to drive back there to look.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll agree. It's a stretch.
I know. I mean, I wish I'm just I'm following the rules. I'm not trying to be difficult, but it's if it's visible, it's visible. I didn't want to see it. I went back there hoping it wasn't visible. Then we wouldn't even have this meeting. You could do whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
But it is visible, and I can't look the other way. So, I mean, I'm sorry. I know it's sort of a touchy little situation, but it is what it is.
Well,
And
I
you
mean,
know,
it's
your
only
house is very
touchy.
prominent. It's right in the middle of the district. It's an
Oh, I agree.
important, it's an
I'm
important
proud
building.
of, I'm proud of the fact that I have the house here.
Yeah,
But I mean, in a
fantastic.
way, if we go with different windows upstairs, I mean, we're going to have a different standard than we had 18 years ago when we started this project. Because the windows that are on there now, I mean, they're vacuum insulated windows as well. And I think they're more similar to what we're talking about here than what you're proposing to go with an all wood window. And we can look into that, certainly, and we will look into that. It's just,
I mean, Marvin's are all wood windows. You get Marvin double homes, insulated glass. I mean, you get part of the same window you had in before that you did
Yeah.
pre-addition.
I mean, they have they have some kind of metal that's in between the layers. I mean, you know, obviously they're not made.
Yeah, spacer bar.
Yeah, it's a spacer bar. It's a
Yeah.
simulated divided light.
Well, you can get a true divided light through them as well, just more expensive.
Yeah.
Not insulated.
Adam, can I ask a question, if you don't mind?
Sure.
And I know you're preferring a wood window, but what is it against the composite window that is
It's
objectionable
really
about it?
it's not me per se.
No,
It's
no, I
the
know.
commission as a whole has determined,
Uh-huh.
and this can change in the future. You know, every commission has its own thoughts on this, but and I know there's a big push to allow composite materials, but the reality is that wood weathers different than composites. You know, it does. You know, a wood fence is going to weather different than an AZAC fence, and you know, I think part of the charm of wood is that it does rot. It gets older, the paint chips off, and it weathers and it ages. AZAC doesn't. You know, it might warp or something. It does something different. It reacts different to weather, or reacts different to, you know, temperature changes. So that's why that's why the commission takes this position.
Yeah.
And,
And I respect that, but I mean, the rules that I'm seeing from the Department of the Interior here do say, I mean, they'd like you not to replace something at all. I mean, they'd rather have you repair it, but they do say
Right.
when you need to repair it, that you need to pay attention to the distinctive features. The features shall match the old in design, color, texture, and other visual qualities. So, I mean, I don't think
and
this
you
is-
say right there, the texture and visual qualities speak to wood versus composites. There's a difference, and that's why we lean towards wood as opposed to a composite.
Texture
Can I
and
also
visual quality
interject
of
here
our
for a
product is
second, Ed?
exactly the
I'm
same
sorry,
as wood.
One at a
Sorry.
time, please.
Can I go
No,
ahead?
I was just saying that.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Chris.
I'd just like to read from our handbook because it's pretty clear. This is window and door repair / replacement. In this era of energy conservation, there is a temptation to remove historic windows and replace with more energy efficient units. This has resulted in the loss of important historic fabric. Old windows should not be replaced unless totally deteriorated. Modern epoxy fillers and hardeners, wood splicing and patching can often repair seemingly hopeless conditions. If no alternative exists, the window should be accurately replicated. Current manufacturers offer several standard and custom reproduction units, many double glazed. However, care must be taken to maintain the original Muntin profile. So,
And I did read that, Chris. I mean, I have it on the screen here because I specifically went through your handbook. And that is the
So-
reason why we took care to maintain the specific Muntin profile.
but you didn't match the material, and that's the issue.
Yeah, okay, they're not 100% wood. I mean, they're, I don't know, 50, they're half wood. All right, I mean, I will go back and talk to the renewal at Anderson folks to see if that is an option. And I don't know if that is an option or not, but so basically, if we were to say, okay, we're going to do exactly this project, but we're going to go with a window that is wood on the outside and the inside, the one that you mentioned, then this will be approved without a question. Is that fair?
Well, yes, for the most part. The only other issue with what you're doing is that you're doing a sash replace. You're putting a unit within the sash of the existing window. Is that correct? You're taking the sashes out. You're taking the sashes out and you're putting it in the existing jamb.
Putting it into the frame that's there, yes.
Yeah, the existing jamb. So the whole unit's going to be smaller right off the bat. You're losing the proportion of the window just by doing that. So it's something that we would discuss.
Yeah.
The light sizes can't be the same. They're going to have to be smaller.
Yeah, I asked that question before of the renewal team, and Bob had assured me that the difference was de minimis. Because that was the question I asked as well.
It's got to be at least 1.5 inches around. I mean, the jambs are probably 3/4 of an inch on each side. That you're choking it down from the sides and the top. Maybe, I mean, proportionally, it'll be similar, but the size will be smaller. So.
Yeah, I had asked that question too, because I was concerned about that as well, Adam, but I was assured that wasn't an issue. So anyway, it sounds like you guys are going to talk about this, but I mean, I think you're telling me that composite material is never going to work. I mean, even though it sounds like the guidelines would allow for it, but
Can I interject on that point just for one moment? I just wanted to add something to what Adam and Chris were saying about composite materials. I'm not saying it's necessarily true in this particular case. I don't know the situation 100%, but in some cases, composite materials, once they're used, can adversely affect historic material that is extant. So that's another reason why commissions get very testy over the use of wood versus composite, because it can have other ramifications that adversely affect the home and how it wears over time. So it's not just, a texture and color thing. It can be actually a use wear thing that changes dew points in a house or changes how a house breathes. So there can be other adverse conditions that are created by the use of composite. So I just wanted to add that little bit in there.
Yeah. I'm hoping these new windows do affect the way the house breathes, because it breathes a little too much right now. Every time the wind blows, it tends to breathe.
If you significantly change the way a house breathes, then you can cause so many other issues. Wood can start cracking. The walls can start doing all sorts of weird things, and you don't want to introduce those bigger issues by trying to fix a smaller issue. So I just wanted to interject that, because that is one of the bigger reasons why composite, or specifically AZAC, is something that a lot of commissions get very concerned about. So I just wanted to give that extra information.
She's pretty drafty, so I don't know if these windows alone will make that much of a difference, but I
get it. I have a house like that too.
All right. I think that's all I have, and I guess the renewal folks and I will need to talk some more about what the possibilities are.
Okay. Thank you. I did not receive any letters in favor of this application. I did not receive any letters opposing the application, so the hearing's closed.
Good.
Thank you.
I talked to all my neighbors and they're all okay with it, but if it would help for me to get them to send letters, I can do that.
What would help if maybe you wanted to join the commission and be a part of it, then you might have a chance of making some changes. But thank you.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate your time. Take care.
Thanks. Last item on the agenda is Isaac Road, 620 Greenfield Hill Road in Fairfield, for property located at 620 Greenfield Road in Fairfield. And this is to change a previously approved application for asphalt roof to a wood roof.
Can you guys hear me? It's Jay Valade from Mark Finley Architects. I'm joined by Brian Coker from our office.
Jay.
The application is exactly as Adam said. It is to replace an existing asphalt roof with a wood roof. What was happening was we started with putting the dormers on the roof. Areas of the roof that were existing started to leak. And then the owners and the builders said, we're gonna have to replace the whole roof. And the owner said, well, if we're gonna have to replace the whole roof instead of just repair the roof, can we do a wood roof? So the preference from the owner is to do a wood roof instead of the asphalt, and so that's why we're here.
Okay. Do you want to show your
Sure, well,
drawings just for reference?
yeah. So, yeah, it's basically the whole roof, changing it. Originally, we were gonna just put the dormer on over here and leave the existing roof as it was and just work around these dormers as we replace the windows in them that were approved. But then there's just been leaking and trouble up there, and they're on the point of sheetrocking inside and doing things that they want to make sure that this thing stays watertight, and they're at the point that they need to make that final decision. And so we said we better check with Historic District to make sure that we are allowed to change the roof to a wood roof. So.
Okay. Thank you, Jay. Chris, questions?
Thanks, Jay, for your presentation. Good to see you. I haven't seen you here in quite a while.
I know.
You guys have been successfully avoiding the commission.
We have another one coming up soon, so you'll see us in the near future.
Okay, well, I'll look forward to that. Quick question. You don't specify what kind of wood. Or is it going to be a Western red cedar or
Yeah, it's a
Alaskan?
red cedar taper sawn, 1/2 to 5/8 inch thick.
Okay. And then my only other question really probably isn't for Jay, but maybe for Adam. This wasn't noticed. It's on the agenda, but I didn't see it on the notice, this application.
It was not noticed. For small changes to previously approved applications, and we do not need to notice it. But it does
Okay.
need to come in front of the commission for approval.
Okay, great.
So
Thank you.
it's for the last minute. Darren, questions? I'm sorry, who's next? Rosina, questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Darren. Questions?
No questions for me.
Thank you. Art, questions?
No, it's always good to swap wood in from asphalt, so no questions.
Exactly. Thank you. And Jim, questions? Jim Bohan, questions? You're muted, Jim. Okay, I'll take that as a no. No questions. I do not have any questions. And I did not receive any letters in favor of the application, and I did not receive any letters opposing the application. So the hearing's closed. Thank you, Jay.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And we'll just move on to consideration of the public hearing items. We'll start with number 1, Paul Bayless, 360 Old Post Road, for property located at 360 Old Post Road. For A, remove existing 42-inch picket fences. B, install new 42-inch high wood picket fences and gates. And C, install new 54-inch high wood picket fences and gates. Can I get a motion?
Yeah, Art will move to approve A, B, and C as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. Rosina.
Okay.
And discussion?
I have one quick question, and it's probably a very stupid question, so I'm sorry. So my understanding is they're taking out a 42-inch fence and putting in a 54-inch fence. And I think Kelly said that there's only a difference of 6 inches. How is there only a difference of 6 inches? Because to me, that suggests 12 inches.
It's 10 inches, I think, and you're right. I'm sorry, 6 and 2 is 8 inches. It's not 6, it's 8. Going from 54 down Yeah,
42 to
yeah,
54,
10
it's 12 inches.
10 inches.
12 inches.
So,
12.
12.
52 would be
54
10.
minus 42 is 12.
so she,
To put,
yeah, she was wrong on
It's
the
4'6".
the height.
She said it a couple of times, and I was
Well-
thinking maybe there's a way it's installed that it's like significantly
No.
lower somehow.
Well, it's clear if one's 42, one's 54, so she just misspoke on the difference.
That was my only real question. I was just, I didn't get in there to ask that question because my turn had already passed. So
So, no, I noticed that she was talking about the 6 inches, which was obviously not right. My question is, so there seems to be a willingness to reduce the 54 by 6 inches, which would make it a 4-foot high fence, a 48-inch fence. And then there's also a willingness to move the fence back off the front corner of the house, which Adam, you were kind of talking about. So I just wondered what everyone's thoughts are on that.
I think that if it was set back from the front of the house, close to the current location, it would have less of an impact on the front of the house. To align it, I think, is a mistake, personally.
And then what about the height?
I think if he reduces to 48, it would be better. If they're willing to reduce to 48, I would say that's the way to go.
I'm in agreement with that too. I mean, 42 is better, but I think 48 would be, understanding that they do have the issue with the dogs who jump, and if 48, if they're willing to do that, I think that would be a very good compromise.
I think you're right, both of you.
Yeah.
I don't have such a problem with the alignment. I think 54 is high.
Oh,
You're-
Rosina,
Rosina,
you're
you're-
muted.
Muted.
I don't have an issue with the alignment at all. So
Okay. How about the height, Rosina?
actually other properties that are high as what they're proposing. Honestly,
54 inch.
there are other properties, one fairly close to where they are across the street, has a high fence. I believe it's right across Sherman Parsonage. And one at the end of Old Post by the library we approved recently. That was high as well. So have an issue with that. So
Okay. So Rosina, you're fine with the application the way it is?
yep.
Okay.
Therefore, I was the one that seconded.
Well, you're always seconding them for discussion purposes, Rosina, so we can't really go by that.
I didn't say for discussion purposes this time.
Yeah, I should clarify.
Okay.
I agree with the 48-inch height, and I agree. I'm with Rosina that the alignment is fine. So that
Okay.
clarify that.
Okay.
So do we need to make an amendment to this motion, or would you like to vote on it the way it is?
It's art again, a proposed amendment. Just recite the A, B, and C so I can.
Well, remove existing 42-inch wood picket fences. B, install new 42-inch high wood picket fences and gates. And C, install new 54-inch high wood picket fences and gates.
So the proposed amendment would be to approve A and B and approve C as well, with the stipulation that the height be no more than 48 inches. How's that?
Okay. Rosina, can you second that?
I'm okay with the 54, but it seems that most people are going to vote for the other one, so I'll second that one.
Okay. So we do have a motion on the table. All in favor? All opposed? That motion passes 4-1. I just wish that I wanted the location to be further back, but anyway. Next item is
Sorry,
St. Paul's
Adam, can you just
Episcopal
repeat what
Church.
you said? I missed what you just said.
I was just saying why I opposed it was because I wanted the location to be further back.
Oh, okay.
That's all. Not a big deal. St. Paul's Episcopal Church, 661 Old Post Road in Fairfield for property located at 661 Old Post Road in Fairfield. For A, removal of existing St. Paul's Episcopal Church sign at northeast corner of the lot, and B, installation of new two-sided sign. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Go ahead, Rosina.
Rosina makes a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve A and B as presented with the stipulation that lighting is not included in this application.
I'll second that.
Okay. Chris, second discussion.
It's a gorgeous sign.
That is,
It is. It's
yeah, it looks
beautiful.
great. Okay, all in favor? All opposed? None opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes unanimously.
Hold on one second.
Jim?
Let me just record this. So that was unanimously approved as submitted with the stipulation that lighting is not included.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
And they'll have to come back for, if they want to light it, they'll have to come back for a new application.
Next item is Matt Wyatt, 289 Beach Road in Fairfield for property located at 289 Beach Road in Fairfield for A, replace 6 double hung windows. Can I get a motion? Art? I can't, you're muted, Mark. Art.
Oh, darn. Yeah, the motion would be to deny item A without prejudice.
I'll second that.
Rosina seconds. Discussion? I think it's pretty straightforward. We'll take a vote. All in favor?
Just like to make-
Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, discussion. Go ahead. If you want to have a comment?
Yeah. I read
No,
the,
Jim, you can't have any discussion on this when you're not voting.
okay,
Sorry.
So my only comment was those windows are not 1800s, they are 20th century. He had mentioned keeping the 18th century character. Those aren't 1800s character. They're not 1800s windows. And I just wanted to make that point because it does change,
Okay.
what's happening there.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, can we take a vote? All in favor? All opposed? None opposed, no abstentions, motion passes. Okay, and then the final one is Isaac Rose, 620 Greenfield Hill Road, Fairfield, Connecticut, for property located 620 Greenfield Hill Road in Fairfield for A, replace asphalt shingles with wood shingles.
I'll make the motion to approve A as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, Rosina's first. Karen's second. Discussion? No discussion. All in favor? All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, we have to approve minutes from February 9th, 2023. Rosina, Jim, myself, and Chris were there. We get a motion for that.
I'll make the motion to approve them.
Rosina makes a motion to approve them in second.
I'll second that.
Jim seconds, all in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Repairs, 175 Old Post Road, replace louver wood shutters in kind, replace wooden screen doors in kind. 2860 Bronson Road, replace window cap molding in kind. 221 Harbor Road, replace asphalt shingles in kind, replace condensing units in kind. We have no violations this month. Old business handbook, I got something from Darren email discussing getting funding for the handbook, perhaps? Anything you want to fill us in on that?
I emailed SHPO. There's two different grants that we could apply for this, and I'm not sure which one is the better one because one is more widely applicable. So if there's any other things that can be done with that one, I'd rather not use that one and use the more restrictive of the possible grants. So I'm just waiting to see what Mary's advice is. And then I did reach out to Terry Brown, who's kind of the grant person at the town, because there's a form that has to be submitted ahead of actually submitting any grant request. So I started getting that ball rolling. And I had spoken to her previously about doing an HRI grant, but we changed focus to the handbook. So I want to see if there's any problem just pivoting. Pretty standard. I haven't heard back from either of them yet.
Okay. Some progress.
And Darren, I think you also mentioned at one point that you know people that would be able to do this for us if we had the grant money.
Yes. If we get the grant money, we would have to put out an RFP, but we can invite people to apply.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. And there was something else you sent out.
Yes,
was that, again,
about
it was something about
preservation
historic tours.
network. Yeah, so that would be, I guess, new business, and I think to add it to an agenda, we need a vote of 2/3.
Okay.
I'd like to add something to the agenda about
Okay.
preservation network.
All in favor? All opposed? None opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
All right, so the Fairfield County Preservation Alliance has been for several years now trying to put together a list of contacts in various municipalities to kind of monitor threatened properties. These are properties that just are either under threat from demolition, development. They are not necessarily coming before anybody for demolition purposes or demolition permits, but they're just properties that might be of interest that could be threatened for one reason or another. And they're looking for somebody to participate like 2 or 3 times a year in a Zoom call for an hour.
Okay.
I don't have time to do it. So I used to do it
Yeah.
when I worked at Westport.
You
It
did?
wasn't
What
a big
is-
time suck.
No.
No.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
thought
Something
I'd
to
throw it
consider.
to all of you sunny people and see if any of you wanted it.
I don't have time to do it, unfortunately. Anyway,
Okay.
I have nothing else. Anyone else
I
have any
yeah,
business that they'd
but-
like to?
kind of bring up my what I oftentimes bring up. I just wondered if you had any update for us on the violations that are existing and what the status of, for example, we talked about some fines at one point and you were speaking with the town attorney about that. And I'm just wondering, time is going on and I don't think any fines have been imposed, and I'm wondering what.
Some have.
Oh, okay.
Some have, and those have been resolved. the property down in the Old Post Road where they did the driveway, the pull-off with the Belgian block. They've removed the Belgian block according to the contractor, and they want to do an addition. So they will be coming in the future and possibly with the addition, or depending on how quickly they can put it together, or just to get approval for the pull-off without the Belgian block. So things are happening. I haven't heard from the Willow Street or Westway Road property with the columns. I know the attorney sent a violation. I'm not sure. I did ask for fines to be attached to that, but I'm not sure if they were imposed or not. But I still haven't heard from them. I have to look at the records for some of the other ones, because I can't remember what else.
What about the Burr Mansion?
There was just on the
I didn't get anything like
Willow
that.
on the Willow Westway property. I mean, they were going to present for a certificate of appropriateness, I don't know, half a year ago. And then there
Yeah.
was a letter from Sasquatch that they received like the day of the hearing. So they pulled their application. And I hadn't, I don't know, did the commission get a copy of that letter from Sasquatch? I never saw it. I'm just wondering
I
what's
don't
going
remember.
on.
I'll have to look.
I know
It was a
Joel
while
Green
ago.
was the attorney.
I don't remember one.
Yeah.
I'm just, I mean, it seems like that's kind of a pretty prominent address, and it was a pretty flagrant violation.
I agree.
And it doesn't seem like we're taking any action, and I'm a little, I'm curious
I
as
know
to
the,
why not.
I know there is a violation on the land records. Whether fines are imposed or not, I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to check on that. But I did ask them to impose fines. But I've also asked them to impose fines on other properties, which I don't believe they did. So I will have to look into that. But at least, I mean, some of the violations are responding and dealing with their violations, and some aren't.
Okay, and then
typical.
Rosina, I'm sorry I interrupted you. You had another question.
Yeah, I was just asking, at one point, Henry Backey had mentioned about the fan that was installed at the Burr Mansion, and
Yeah.
I guess there was a stipulation for that.
Yeah, I haven't done anything with the Burr Mansion. I have to look in. I just don't know exactly what the violation is until I look into
That
it.
big, huge exhaust fan was
Yeah,
supposed
something to do
be
with that.
screened by evergreen plantings,
Oh,
and
okay,
it never was.
gotcha. Okay. I do remember that now. I can have a violation issued to the Burr Mansion. With violation with whatever fines attached.
Okay, thank you, Adam.
Okay. Anything else? No. Then I guess we can get a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn. Rosina seconds.
I'll second.
I thought Jim was
Is there a
going to
second?
jump right on that.
All in favor? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, guys.